All right, so now we're going to discuss number 13 from the 10A. Basically, the problem is we have 5 people, let's call them A, B, C, D, and E, and they're all watching a movie at the movie theater. Then person A steps out to get some popcorn, and when she comes back, everybody else has switched places. So they started in these 5 seats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when A comes back, we know that B has moved 2 to the right, C has moved 1 to the left, and then D and E have just swapped places.
So the movie must be really boring.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are moving all over the place, right? And then these guys just swap. So A just comes back and there's 1 empty seat left. And it happens to be one of the ends. We don't know which end it is at. And the question's asking us, given all of this information, we have to figure out where A was sitting before she stepped out. So I guess we can just start by writing stuff down. That's always a good thing to do. So we have our 5 seats, right? It looks to me like the motion of B seems the most interesting. So let's think about that first. So if we have B moves 2 seats to the right, and then we need to put C, D, E, and A somewhere. Let's look at where C goes. C moves 1 seat to the left, right? So right now, we have this set of 3 chairs that we can insert anywhere in here. So for now, I'm just gonna think about this side. Let's look at where C can go. If C starts to the left of B, then C will move down here, right? And we'll have these 2 seats now. Okay, so now what? Well, note that D and E have to swap places. So this means that we need 2 free columns. One is, it should look like,
columns.
right? It should look like this. So this guy goes there, this guy goes there. And these 2 are in the same column, these 2 are in the same column. But right now, every single column except for 1 is occupied. But we need 2 to be open. So this case is not going to work. All right, next case is if C starts to the right of me, right here. That means that C will move down here. And then we look at where D and E can go. So if we want 2 free columns, they're either going to have to both be here, or both be here, or 1 here, 1 here, right? But either way, A is going to have to go here, no matter what.
And it's not the end of the...
That's not the end, right? So this is not going to work. All right, what else is left? Well, we have B going here, and this time we're going to make C start out in the last spot and go here. Okay, now where can D and E go? Well, one possibility is that we put D and E in these 2 columns, and then A can do this, and this works because A is in the end, right? So this case seems good. And since this is the AMC and we found the case that works, we should just go ahead and put down 2. But since we're discussing this right now, this is not the AMC. Let's continue looking at the other cases to make sure that there are no other possibilities. All right, so last case, I'll put it up here.
Wait, but there can be also 2 columns to the left of the previous case, right?
Over here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but that's not going to work because we want A to be at the end.
Yes.
So the only way for A to be at the end is this. And this case does give us a solution. But we don't know for sure if this is the only solution. So the last case is if C starts out way over here and then moves there. Right? So now, again, we see there are no 2 free columns for D and E. Okay, so at last we've covered every single case. We found that there's a solution that works, and that gives us the answer. A's original spot was seat 2. And we're done. So this is what I did, something along these lines during the test. It took me some time, but I got the solution. I ended up getting it right. And then after the test, I was talking with Yannick, and Yannick was like, "Oh, you can just do this really, really simple thing, and then it gives you a solution immediately." So I'm going to go ahead and erase everything, all the cases. None of this is useful for the problem. You can start completely from scratch, and actually, if you use Yannick's method, you can do this entire problem in your head. So here's how it goes. Let's think about the seat numbers at the start for each of the 5 guys. Right? Let's call them A1, B1, C1, D1, E1. Right? And what's the sum of these 5 numbers? Well, it's definitely going to be 15, right? Because they're in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in some order. So if you add up the original ones, A1 plus B1 plus C1 plus D1 plus E1 equals 15. Okay, and you can probably guess the next thing we're going to do is look at where they are after. Let's call them A2, B2, etc. And that sum has also got to be 15. And here's the trick. So, what happens if we subtract these 2? Except we're going to do it really cleverly.
E1, D1, E2, D2 is basically cancelled, right? They are the same situation.
Because D and E are swapping places, these 2 are going to cancel, right? Because they're going to be equal. And then these 2 are going to cancel. So this entire right half goes to 0. What else? Well, we see that B moved 2 to the right. So it means B1 minus B2 is going to give you -2, right? And then we also know that C moved 1 to the left. So C1 minus C2 is going to give you +1. And what else do we know about subtracting them? Well, we know you're going to get 0. Because 15 minus 15 is 0, right? So we can immediately tell that means A1 minus A2 has to be 1. Which means A has to move 1 seat to the left. That's the only way this is going to work. And if A moves 1 seat to the left and ends up at the end, the only possibility is that she started out in seat 2. So that immediately gives us the answer. And we're done.
You have a solution going case by case. He has a very quick solution, right? I think in somewhere in between, I think there's another way to think about this problem a little bit, make a kind of like in between. You look at these 5 people, how I think about it is this. D1 and E1 doesn't factor into this whole thing, right? And so basically this is a 3 people move. If I want to see A, B, and C, how do they relate to each other? And I clearly know B and C cannot what? Swap.
Right.
So that means A has to be in between, in their move. So that means what? It's a 3 people, there's only one way to involving all 3 people involved, is they have to have a cycle. Is B go to C, C goes to A, or B goes to A goes to C. So that will cut down your what? The cases. And then you more or less are in this numbering system position.